All right.
What the fuck? Why do you always get to intro the show? Why can't I do it?
Okay, you go for it.
Bitches. Welcome to another wrestling podcast. This is episode number 185. I'm your host. I am not the Mark of Marks. I'm the asshole that everybody loves. The social assassin, Angry Cooter.
You almost lost me until you actually got into character. But I'm Minority Mike.
And I'm the social greeter, Steve Credo. Bros. I can't do it. I can't be angry. I'm horrible at it.
We do this. I don't know.
One more time.
You sounded like a telemarketer until you got into character.
It was fun. I can't help it, and it was great.
All right, how about that? Let's scratch it back up. Here we go.
It's time for another wrestling podcast.
All right. Welcome to another wrestling podcast, episode 185. I'm your Mark of Marks, Credo.
And I'm a hungover Minority Mike.
And I'm everyone's favorite asshole, the social assassin, Angry Cooter. Bitches.
I thought I was trying to figure out. I mean, I knew it. I hear it every week. I was trying to. How could I take your angry part and make it not angry, like a Drew Gulak kind of a spin on it? But I couldn't do it. Give us
a PowerPoint presentation on how not to be Angry Cooter. That would take years, dude.
How not to be angry, but guys, we can't be angry. I mean, it's the quiet before the storm. We're headed into Mania weekend. A lot of things we're going to talk about. We got Luke Hawx on the show from WildcatWrestling.com. Check him out. Check out all the shows. He's going to be doing a lot on Mania weekend. We're going to be talking to him and what Wildcat Wrestling is going to be doing and what they're up to. But guys, we're also talking Mania shows, not WrestleMania. That's next week. This week we're talking about every other show happening that weekend because it's like it's the Super Bowl of wrestling. There's more than just WWE happening, so we're going to talk about everything else happening that weekend and what we kind of think stands out later on. So stay tuned for that. AnotherWrestlingPodcast.com. Like us, follow us, subscribe on iTunes, rate us, review us. Give us some love. We need to know that you're out there. We want to know that you're out there because I can't just be doing this every week for the angry mom.
Yeah, she definitely is a fucking mark for herself. She literally fucking fast forwards if she's only at the end or she just listens to the beginning. She loves to fucking hear herself. And then last week she's bitching, I used to do 2 segments a week. Now you only got me doing 1. Well, you know how hard it is pulling teeth to get fucking something out of that bitch.
Oh man, we need more angry mom interaction on the show. We'll have to bring her on one day and have her as the guest. Guys, like I said though, it's the quiet before the storm. It's Mania weekend. Are you prepared? How does one get ready for all these shows coming up? Because it's like a marathon. I mean, so many shows happening in just a few amount of days. Are you guys excited?
I'll tell you, son, you talking about how you get ready for all these shows? A lot of caffeine. A lot of caffeine. Starting this Monday, coming up is the go-home show from Raw. And then you got SmackDown. Then you got NXT. And then Thursday kicks off WrestleMania week. Oh my God, the list of freaking events. You have to be in shape for this shit, ladies and gentlemen. Like, it's a lot.
No, yeah. I don't even think caffeine would do it, bro. I think you would need some methamphetamine or maybe some coke, bro.
Man, diehards though. Diehards are going to be seeing and watching every show as much as possible. I don't know how you guys do it. I mean, there's a lot of shit going on. It's fun though. I mean, it's like the one time a year where it's like Christmas every day, every second, every hour. A lot of different matches happening this year. Well, I mean, next week we're gonna have a Mania show, so we're gonna go through everything on Mania with the 20-hour fucking pre-show they got. They have so many matches at Mania, I can't believe it. Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody seems to be in a match some way or another. I wonder if there's anybody just sitting at home that's not in a match. Poor guys, poor girls.
Yeah, poor. They're making money sitting at home.
I know we're going to be talking about Mania next week, but I was going through all the stuff preparing for next week for Mania, and I couldn't believe that it's Stephanie McMahon's first Mania match. Also, I mean, she's been at Mania, she's been involved in little angles and this and that, but she's never officially had a match. That's a good trivia question. Can you believe that? They didn't really make too much of a big deal about it. I mean, because it's also Ronda Rousey's debut first match, but it's also Stephanie McMahon's first WrestleMania match. That's pretty big.
God, I mean, Stephanie McMahon's first WrestleMania match. My God, 3 kids, a fucking shitty-ass, crazy job. I mean, and we've never seen her at the ring. I don't even know what to make of this. That blew my mind once you told me that, and that just makes me worry that much more because I mean I remember some of the matches that she's had over the years, and my God, they were the drizzling shits. I'm not looking forward to this. Thank God, Triple H is going to have to carry the brunt of this match and make this look good because once you get that hot tag, it's going to be poor Steph. And for somebody as green as Ronda, I don't know how somebody like Steph is going to make her look good or do her justice. This is just going to be a shitstorm.
Well, I mean, I'm interested to see how Steph's going to react. I mean, we know she's good in the ring cutting promos. I just want to see how she's going to be performing under 70,000+ fans. I mean, maybe she cracks under the pressure because this is her actual first official WrestleMania match, or maybe she actually performs well. I mean, the last match that we saw Steph in, I believe it was that SummerSlam match with Brie Bella, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. I was just
looked good.
That was 2014. 2014, the last time she was in a match with her. That's crazy. I was just going to ask that. When do you guys think the last time she was in a match? She had 2 matches in 2014, and then before that was 2003. So she's had some years in between matches. I don't know,
2
man.
matches in 2014? What was the second one?
Stephanie McMahon defeats Vicky Guerrero. It was a Monday Night Raw show. A mud pool match.
Oh my God!
You can't even count that as a match. She was still in a dress.
It's interesting. I mean, it's a few years in between of a lot of her stuff. So, I mean, guys, I know people say sometimes you get better with age. This is her first Mania match. She's definitely in shape with those midnight training sessions. Have you seen them post that on Twitter and whatnot? It's interesting. It's going to be interesting, but I don't think, it's one of those things. She doesn't do it every day. She doesn't do it all the time. How good can she be? I don't know.
I vaguely remember that match with Brie, which started off the whole Nikki Bella angle, where then all of a sudden she started becoming more of an in-ring performer. Because prior to that, it was mostly Brie and occasionally Nikki, and that was just the one that tore those two apart. And I vaguely remember that match, and it was just fucking painful.
Well,
stick pins in my eyes and maybe set my head on fire.
I didn't think it was that bad. I really didn't. I thought it was decent. I mean, it wasn't like, the match of the night or anything like that, but for Stephanie coming in, I mean, she hit the pedigree actually pretty good. Other than that, I thought the match was great. Someone like Brie Bella and Stephanie in the ring, I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was.
Okay, but now, guys, think of this. It's Stephanie. Stephanie's had wrestling matches, but, I mean, they're far and few between. So she's had matches before, but it's her first WrestleMania match. And then also you put on the factor of Ronda Rousey's first ever WWE match. She's had, a run-in at WrestleMania, but she hasn't had a match. So you put Stephanie McMahon versus Ronda Rousey, first Mania match versus first ever WWE match at WrestleMania. What can we get out of this? It's either going to be really good or just fucking bad. I don't know. Could it have a potential to just be a disaster for both of these women?
I honestly think it's I don't even know what to think, honestly. Is it going to be a disaster? Like Huda said earlier, Triple H and Kurt Angle are going to be in the ring the majority of the match. Once it gets to the ladies, I mean, we don't know what to expect with Ronda. We don't know how good she's going to be, if she's even going to be good. I mean, I personally think she's going to be good. I don't think she's going to be great, but she's going to be better than what everybody thinks. I mean, could I be wrong? Yes, I've been wrong a million times. I don't know what to expect with this match, and I think that's what kind of gives this match a little more anticipation than what the build-up is because we don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I personally think she's going to be better. I just don't think it's a match that's going to steal the show, but it will steal the attention of all the mainstream media. I think that's the only purpose why they're going with this.
Yep, that's
true.
what's
terrible is we're talking about how Triple H and Kurt Angle are going to have to, take up for the slack of these two. But unfortunately, that's not really much better the way that Kurt Angle's been looking.
Oh, man, I know.
You've heard me making fun of him for weeks, being out of shape, this and that. If he comes to the ring wearing a fucking oversized T-shirt to, cover up that fucking pot belly, holy God.
I would hope. Hope.
Get in shape, dude, because this is fucking WrestleMania. I don't want to see fucking a pudgy Papa Shango fucking coming to the ring with fucking Ronda Rousey. He does. He looks like the pudgy Papa Shango without the fucking makeup, man. I'm telling you.
I would hope from Survivor Series till now he's already getting in shape. I would hope that like after Survivor Series he realized he's gonna have a WrestleMania match. So if I was him, I would have been on that Atkins diet. I'd have been getting some shit going. I don't think he was that fat or anything like that, but his his timing was off. It really was, and it didn't really look as crisp as it normally does, and maybe it is because of the fact that he's older now, but I mean we just saw him like a year ago prior to that or wrestling Cody Rhodes at a Northeast Wrestling show, and he looked great.
Yeah.
So he's got to get himself going.
And this is his only third match, I believe, in the WWE since he's been back. He's had, just the one with the Shield, and then the other one, and this is the third one. So, well, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of shit happening. But speaking of Ronda Rousey, let's get right into the week that was, shall we? Guys, Ronda Rousey. Now, let me talk a few seconds about this because I know, I've interviewed her. I've seen how she talks on interviews, and maybe I'm wrong, but hear me out for a second to where I think she's used to doing interviews, obviously, for big fights. Like, hey, I'm doing an interview about this fight that's happening 6 months from now. Hey, I'm doing an interview this is going to happen in a few weeks, in a week. I think she's used to these interviews that are like being a hard ass about her opponent. And I don't think she's quite really dived into the WWE universe of promos in a way. It's like, yes, we know you're a badass and whatnot, but I don't think she's taking into full effect of what she really needs to accomplish with her interviews. Something she takes too seriously. I mean, if you guys heard it on the ESPN this week with the Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, he asked something, and trust me, she's just watched. She doesn't even see him. She's looking at a camera, hears him in the ears. So I can understand to where she might be misunderstood because she's just hearing him in his ear. So they're not in the same room. It was like one of those satellite interviews. I get it, but still, she's fucking. We've seen her do some workouts. We've seen some of her promo stuff, but man, I don't know. She needs to she seems too uptight, which I'm trying to get to. She needs to just take it back for a minute, right, and just step into that WWE universe.
Here's the thing with Ronda, and I know Cooter can agree with this. A lot of professional wrestling fans right now are going nuts over this interview, and they have an argument. I mean, Golic's wording of the questions were also suspect as well. I mean, he could have worded them a little better. But you have to understand who Ronda is. If you didn't follow her MMA career, you didn't follow her how she is in interviews, that's how she was in any type of interview. If you asked a dumb question, or you're going to get a snotty response. That's just who she is. So when people saw her in that interview, I mean, to me, that was normal. That's the normal Ronda Rousey right there. All these wrestling fans are getting a preview of how she is during interview segments because she said before she absolutely hates doing press.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't want to do it. That she does it because she's obligated to do it. But she'll pretty much, if it's a waste of her time or if it's starting to become a waste of her time, then she starts becoming that bitch and she starts getting all nasty. Now, Golic's question, I mean, he could have worded it a lot better. Ronda on her end could have answered it a lot better. But it's a two-way street here, I look at it as. I mean, was Ronda wrong the way she answered it? Personally, no. I probably would have answered it the same way if I heard it that way. I wouldn't have been an asshole about it. But I probably would have been like, if I could go back in fucking time, I'd fucking fix a lot of things, let me tell you. So, I mean, that's just who Ronda is.
Yeah, but see, that's the problem. That's why I think in the long run, she's not as marketable as you think she is. Look at her first loss, and because she was such a bitch when she was on that long win streak, it didn't matter. But the second she lost, the fucking world turned on her, and that's something that was kind of sort of brought up in that other interview that she did with Max Kellerman. You know,
I didn't see the Max Kellerman one.
Oh my God, it's brutal. It's brutal. I mean, he makes mention of other people talking about, Ronda not being, the greatest fighter, this, that, and the other thing. And she says, well, some people hide behind the phrase other people, when they're talking about pretty much themselves. And he's like, no, well, I defended you. Like, that's not me speaking for other people. Like, I'm talking literally about other people. And she just like snidely said, oh, well, thanks for sticking up for me. So if she's terrible in the ring and she flops, the way that she's coming across in these interviews only makes it worse, dude. It's not a good look for WWE.
I'm not gonna disagree with you at all, because this is a different landscape. I mean, she can get away with those type of interviews in the MMA world, but I mean, she's bringing her attitude from MMA to the interviews, and I expected it because I'm used to it. Wrestling fans aren't used to this, and it's something that she has to work on and has to fix, because WB isn't the UFC. She's marketing a TV PG product right now. She's not marketing like a blood sport like the UFC. So yeah, she's gonna be that way. She has to fix it, unfortunately.
Oh, here, let me play this little clip. This is me asking her about how she feels going into her first WrestleMania.
In a few weeks, you're going to be at your first WrestleMania. How do you feel walking into your first WrestleMania? Competing.
I guess I can't really say until I'm walking out. And up until now, it's just a guess. And how do you guess about something like that? How would you feel?
Nervous, excited.
That's a good guess, but you never know. You might get out there and just feel like giggling and pissing your pants at the same time. Who knows?
She like scared me. Like, well, how'd you feel? Like, I don't know.
She's not good at these interviews. She's really not. That's the thing. Like, and like Cooter, like you're absolutely correct. Like, I mean, she has to learn how to market herself in an interview, especially for WWE.
Well, then here's the funny part, because then I took her aside, and this was never aired, but I told her this about her working at Home Depot with my wife.
You worked with my wife in Reading, Massachusetts. A long time ago.
Shut up! Really?
Yeah,
oh my God!
She was saying I borrowed her ID and stuff for going out, but
Well, tell her I said thank you for helping me drink illegally, and Home Depot for life.
Perfect, thanks, Ronda.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that is true, guys out there. Breaking news. I think I mentioned it once before, but Ronda Rousey did work with my wife in Home Depot years ago.
Another shameless plug for Mrs. Credo. Damn.
There you go. So, hey, I mean, that's the first. Another wrestling podcast. We have the breaking thing where Ronda Rousey says Home Depot for life. So there you guys go. But anyway, I mean, so yeah, I mean, she is kind of, like I said, for her, unfortunately, she didn't get thrown into that farm system, if you will. She didn't go through NXT. They didn't really teach her. Granted, I'm sure she's been training and working and whatnot behind the scenes, but still, only months. I mean, some of these guys have been doing it for years, their whole life. To where she's been training as in judo or whatever for UFC and whatnot for years, but not to be a pro wrestler. So they're kind of birth of fire, or what's the old saying, fire, baptism by fire kind of a thing for her, to where they're using her name, throwing her into the WWE. Now she's kind of have to land on her own 2 feet, running with the punches. So I mean, I guarantee you, this time next year, she's going to have a singles match at WrestleMania in Jersey, and we're going to probably be singing a different tune, because, I mean, we'll see what happens within the year, what that year can do to her, but still, I mean, we got to give her some leniency to where they're kind of just throwing her to the wolves, if you will, without having fully prepped her for all this. I mean, we could at least give her that, right?
I think it's a WWE's fault because, I mean, a guy like Triple H and someone like Stephanie McMahon, they follow MMA, so they know how she is during interviews. So maybe they should have like prepped her, like, look, how you interviewed during your UFC days has to be different now that you're under contract with us. You have to change your style of how you talk to these people. You can't be a bitch to them, pretty much. And I think they lacked on actually saying something to her. That's why she just was her. And for wrestling fans that snapped about it and freaked out, to me, it's the norm. It really is.
You know, I kind of have a feeling they maybe did say something to her, but it was more along the lines of try to steer away from the MMA questions, because that's what a lot of these media outlets want to talk about. If you look at the two big ones that came up with the Kellerman and the Michael, they always want to talk about her. Is she ever going to go back to fighting? Is she ever going to go back to fighting?
She didn't even start yet.
It's like, this is what I'm doing now, and this is what I'm here to talk about. And throughout most of those interviews, they weren't even bringing that up. So maybe that's why she was such a bitch and very frustrated. I think that's like, okay, you told me not to talk about this MMA stuff anymore because of what I'm doing now, but you didn't prep me for what I should say when they try to pull that shit out of me.
Yeah, and you know something? It's funny because all those guys have been trying to get interviews from Ronda ever since she lost to Amanda Nunes. And she has not talked about it once, but you put her on the WWE platform and she's opening up about it. And that's the material, the interviews that those guys want on their shows, and Ronda's not going to give it to them.
You know, and it's sad because, I mean, in America, we look at wrestling as, I mean, it's not on the cover of the New York Times. It's not on CNN every day. It's not on sports. You know, we don't treat it in America as like an official sport happening all the time. You go to Japan or whatnot, it's in the newspaper. They have the results in the paper. You know, it's treated totally different. So when you have that aspect, like you were just saying, Cooter, too, where, you know, these guys, they get her on the show and they're not even asking her about like what she's an infant. She's in her infancy in her career in the WWE. She hasn't even had a match, and like they're asking stupid things to where it's like, oh, you're already going, when you're gonna go back to fighting? Like she just started here. Fucking relax. And my whole point about the media is that they don't care about wrestling. All they want to do is go back to her and her fighting career, and it's like, hey, you brought her on, talk about WrestleMania, talk about wrestling, but still. Yeah, we still got to get her in shape, I guess, with some of these interviews. It'll be interesting to see how time progresses. Ronda Rousey, I guess we could say, right? Now, last week I threw Shane McMahon on my list along with all the other people only because Shane McMahon is always in a match at WrestleMania, it seems like the past few years. And I kind of got my hopes up because last week he was diagnosed with acute diverticulitis, which led to a massive infection. He was being treated with heavy doses of antibiotics. People are saying that diverticulitis, which can often occur through eating massive amounts of red meat, is best known as the disease that nearly ended both the life and career of Brock Lesnar in 2009. Shane's father, Vince McMahon, also at one point contracted the disease, which attacks the intestine. So, with that said, I was like, all right, I guess Shane's not at Mania this year. He's off the list. And the very next day after they announced he had diverticulitis, Daniel Bryan said they're tagging together at WrestleMania against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And I'm like, why would you even bring up this whole diverticulitis? I think we have to do a shot every time I say that. And then the next day just say he's in the Mania match. I mean, like, fuck. That's all I gotta say. There was nothing else to do with Daniel Bryan. They couldn't give him somebody else. We still got to go with McMahon just because. I
thought it should have been a one-on-one match. I thought they should have just had. I mean, if Shane was still going to be there, because I didn't think he was going to actually be able to compete after all the symptoms and everything he did. My father had diverticulitis, and it's the worst experience he's ever had. It should have been Daniel Bryan with Shane in his corner versus Kevin Owens with Sami in his corner. I thought that one-on-one match would have been amazing, but I'm still going to throw Shane in there, king of the rabbit punches. We'll just see. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, I don't know. It was. I had my hopes up for one day because like that with all that information dropping, you're like, oh man, well, sorry Shane, but I guess it's kind of good. We're not gonna have him at a match, and then literally the next day he announces the match. Fuck.
There are worse things, Credo.
What's that?
Could be James Ellsworth teaming with fucking Daniel Bryan.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess you are right on that front right there, but. I know, and you know the thing is too. We just talked about Stephanie McMahon, and I'm not even mad that she's in a match because it's her first match. But I mean, the past few years, Shane versus The Undertaker, Shane versus AJ Styles. Are you kidding me? We could have had like other Ultimate WrestleMania matches, but Shane had to take that spotlight to what? To impress his kids. Hey, I had a match with the Taker. I had a match with AJ Styles at WrestleMania. What a waste for AJ and what a waste for Taker. I don't know. I'm just bitter still. He's on the list.
Wait a minute. Let me ask you a question. Are you going to put The Undertaker on the list if he's at Mania this year?
I'm not, because this match should have happened still a few years ago or, you know, whatnot. But it's now icon versus icon in a way. Like these two old guys, Cena and Taker. I mean, if you look at the rest of the landscape, they are the seasoned. They are the seniors. And, you know, it is what it is, but it's still one of those it's not a dream match, but it's one of those matches you didn't think you'd see happen, or at least should have happened years ago, but Undertaker's not on the list yet. We'll see what happens after this week, after Mania, because it's still not official yet, guys, so...
His entrance is on the fucking list, though, right?
The entrance is on the list, but what entrance are we going to get with this year? Because a lot of people are speculating.
Yeah, well, if it's the American Badass, it'll be a 30-second entrance. If it's the Dead Man, it started about 5 minutes ago.
He's already started walking.
Yes, guys, but you know, a lot of stuff's happening this week. It's WrestleMania weekend. Let's talk to Luke Hawx, who's going to be WrestleMania weekend with Wildcat Wrestling right now. All right, joining us today is a pro wrestler, a promoter, an actor, a stuntman. He's the founder and CEO of Wildcat Sports. Luke Hawx is joining us today. Luke, thanks so much for joining us.
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Now, Luke, from what I understand, you've been in the world of pro wrestling for just under 20 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, next year hits 20 years. I'm old, bro. I'm old and beat up and broken down.
Well, there you go, man. Just under 20 years, but I mean, you've worked with everybody from WWE, TNA, ECW, Ring of Honor, XPW, NWA. You know, you've been around the world. You've seen it all. Can you tell maybe anybody that's listening, since you've pretty much worked for all the promotions, you know, is there anybody that just stands out, or just something that you keep going back to, maybe who you worked with, maybe a place that you just had a really great time with?
I've been pretty fortunate to work, you know, around. I really enjoy. I mean, Mexico is one of my favorite places to go. The crowd's just so passionate down there. England too. You know, I go to the UK a lot, and you know, it's a different style of wrestling. It's just they get into it, and I dig in England how they really respect the sport, whereas then you go over to Mexico, and it's like the fans are just so passionate. You know, they boo the heels and they cheer the baby faces, and they're wild and they're crazy, and it's whereas you know, a lot of places in the U.S. you deal with the smart mark crowd, so to speak, the guys who just want to read the internet, know what's going on, kind of like I feel like in the States, and like this ain't taking a dig at anybody, but in the States, everybody wants to be like on the inside. They want the inside scoop, and they want to be part of the show, and they can't just. It's almost like insulting them to call them fans nowadays, because nobody wants to just be a fan. Whereas in like I say, overseas, these guys are they're passionate fans. They just go out there to enjoy a product, and I think that's why I really prefer wrestling in those places.
No, definitely. It's a good point. You know, you bring up UK fans, Mexico fans. For UK fans, I mean, for you, for traveling, I guess, since you've been all over the world, do you have to kind of prepare yourself for the kind of fan base you're going to be in front of? I mean, to where you know what they like, you know what they're going to do. Is it just like, I mean, like UK, for example, I mean, those are some great fans. They don't get to experience, I guess, as much as the big shows as, they probably would love to, since, for example, WrestleMania, is always in the States.
States, but they come over here for it. They don't get to host the events, but they definitely, a lot of those fan bases come over here to the States for the WrestleMania events. But yeah, preparing yourself for it, the first couple of times you go in, actually the first time ever, you're always nervous because you don't know what to expect. And rules are different in different places. The match style's different. Like in England, a lot of places they'll have rounds and matches, and they'll have different rules. Like if you knock an opponent down and you don't cover them right away, you can't cover them. You have to let that opponent get up, or you can't hit them while they're on the ground. So, and a lot of those things I wasn't smartened up to at first. I didn't know much about those cultures. I had to learn from going over there. So that's always a crazy thing, is when you in someplace different and you're used to what you're used to, and it doesn't work over there. So but it's a learning experience because you have to adapt.
No, for sure. Now, I think when I first saw you, it was in XPW. A lot of hardcore wrestling back then. They even went through hardcore titles, hardcore championships, and whatnot. But it's 2018. Do you think there's still room for more hardcore wrestling on TV today? Just either mainstream TV or just in general, to where, it went through a phase, I think, if you will, to where it was popular for one point on mainstream TV, and then it kind of faded away, and then it got kind of too PG, if you will. But do you think it can make a comeback, kind of thing?
I think they kind of burnt it out. I think once you start pushing the envelopes too much, you get tired of anything. Especially with the indies, you know what I mean? Like they were not just TV, but because the indies were where you really seen the stupid crap with the weed whackers, and they, they were doing some really ridiculous things that I think is, at some point, to me, that's not wrestling anymore. And it's just kind of showing how much balls you have or how stupid you are. So, and then, you got to be tough to do it. No doubt about it. Nobody's questioning how tough these guys are. But at some point, it's just like you become a freak show. What does wrestling have to do with that? You become, almost a stunt man. Not really a stunt man because because you're doing a stunt, but you're not. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I guess freak show would be the way to explain. I was never really a fan of that style. I got caught up in it because I had to.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was pushed for my spot at that time, and I didn't have much say so. Like they were pushing me into that position, and I did it for a very short amount of time. And I always tried to incorporate wrestling into it. And I did maybe 5 or 6 matches, and as soon as I got tired of it really quick, I was like, I don't want to do these anymore. I don't want to, especially because I started getting known as a deathmatch wrestler when I first started. And I was like, I didn't want to be known as a deathmatch wrestler. I wanted to be known as a wrestler. So, and I really had to defer myself from that situation. And it was tough at first because so many bookings came at me, like guys wanting, and they'll pay you stupid amounts of money, but it wasn't about the money for me because I didn't want to do it.
No, sure. Now, you just said it right there, too. A lot of guys right now, too, a lot of young guys are probably getting into that kind of scene. Do you have any advice for them that if they kind of almost start going down that rabbit hole of where they might be, typecast, if you will, as like that deathmatch wrestler, or they have no escape? Any advice to them how to maybe just get out of it, just not do it?
You stand your ground. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. I think a lot of these guys want to do something cool and they want to make their mark, but is it really worth risking your life or risking your health? Or, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But some of the things they do, Joey Janela, all right? I'm sure you know who that is. I think he's a great kid. I like some of the stuff. I like him because he's a little wild and obnoxious. But some of the things he's done with his body, it's you can't do that on a nightly basis. So, and then one of these times when you're going to try and do it, something's going to happen, and hopefully it doesn't kill you. So that stunt he pulled with Zandig was a couple of years ago when they did the thing off the top of the building into the back of the truck was just, totally ridiculous.
Definitely. No, but you mentioned stuntman, though. You are a stuntman. You are an actor. You've been in movies. Can you tell us a little bit about doing that on the side from pro wrestling to where I know it's obviously a different kind of a world, but what's it take to be a stuntman, and maybe what have you been doing, and anything crazy you want to share with us?
Yeah, it's completely different than wrestling because the days are a lot longer. The pay is a hell of a lot better too. but but the days are longer. You, like, for instance, when you're doing a stunt, sometimes you have to do it several times or 20 times. So it depends on, like, whereas in wrestling, you do a match, your adrenaline's going, you're performing live, you got the live audience, and you can interact with the crowd. And in a movie, if I got to fall backwards off a 5-foot table and hit the ground, they go cut after it's over, or you wait till the end of the scene to clear cut. Okay, they got to reset everything. Your adrenaline's kind of down, and then you got 5-10 minute breaks between each shot, and you get if you smack your head or you hurt yourself, it's like you just want to get it over with, and you can't. So it's really abusive on your body. But again, you're being compensated for it, and you're trying to do things. It's also, they do try and protect you as much as possible, even though you're doing a stunt. Obviously, the goal is not to hurt yourself. So you try not to do anything that's unsafe. But sometimes some things just are so hard. Like when I was on Fast and Furious, when I did Fate of the Furious, I was on a wire. And I had to get pulled back about, 10 to 12 feet. And then I had to get yanked back. It's called a ratchet. So it's a machine. So you're hooked to a vest, and you got a cable, like just tugging on you the whole time, where you have pressure on the cable. And as soon as they hit that button, it yanks you, and you have no control over your body. So the only way we can do this shot was we couldn't have any pads down, because of the floor, and they would have been seen in the shot, and we couldn't green screen them out. So I had to do it twice to the floor, which really hurt like hell. Gave me a really bad concussion, really rang my bell, some really bad whiplash. And we did several other shots the next week into pads, but the first initial shot, we had to do it twice onto the ground. And they only wanted to do it once, but the first time we did it, the camera was set in the wrong spot, so I went out of frame when I landed.
Oh, man.
So, because they only wanted to shoot it once. They're like, do you have one in you? Do you think you can take one to the ground? And I was like, oh, yeah, I think I can take one. So then we ended up taking it, and it hurt like hell. It rang my bell. Like I said, I had a really bad concussion from it, but we missed the shot. So I was like, I'm already wrong. Let's go again right now. So we shot it right again, and that second one really shook me up. But, it's rare that you have instances like that where you just have to do that one, there's kind of no way around a pad. So, and there's always accidents as well. It's something you got to be careful, because you never know what's going to happen. You could do something. Just like Eddie Guerrero. Remember when Eddie Guerrero, he did frog splash a million times. That one time he did it perfect. His elbow just popped out of place because his body was like, no, I'm tired of doing this. So, there's no way around accidents.
Sure. Now, I also said you're a promoter and CEO of Wildcat Sports. Can you tell us just how this came about? How did you start Wildcat Sports? Maybe for the fans up here in the north that maybe not have heard about it too much, can you just tell them a little bit about it?
Yeah, basically what it was I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, and of course wrestling was big here back when, like, Mid-South, Junkyard Dog, all those cats. And when I was coming up, and it died out. So there was nothing here. Really, they had a few really bad, crappy indies, like some trash bag wrestling. And I had to move to train. I had to move cross country to train. And when I got a good, decent reputation and moved back home and started working regularly and doing indie shows regularly across the country, my goal was always to open up a facility here so people would have some place close to train. And then they kind of fed off from that was the promotion. Because once you have the school, you have to have somewhere reliable for you guys to work at. Because you don't really want to send them on trash bag shows. So that's how the promotion started. And, we started in a bar, and we grew from, our first show was about 200 people tops, maybe 250, like packed in. And we lasted in that bar for 3 shows, and we outgrew it quickly, which then we moved into like bigger venues and then bigger venues. And now we're pulling a good 12 to 1,500 per show about every 8 weeks.
Sure.
So, we got some really awesome talent down here. Most of my guys not most of my guys, but like I have a crop of guys who've been with me since day one, like Matt Lanty, Danny Flamingo, Buku Dow, Jay Spade, Socorro, and these guys, Chris Harper. These guys are so talented at what they do. And they've been in the Northeast. They're starting to get out a lot more. Some are working for House of Hardcore. They're working for MCW coming up in Maryland, Championship Wrestling. A bunch of them that did some WWE spots. So unfortunately, they haven't worked like all of those indies in that Northeast area yet, where like to get a bunch of good press, but these guys are super talented, man. I think they can hang with the best of them. I'm not just saying it because they're my guys. Like, my guys, I know could hang with the best of them on the market today. So I just got to get them in front of those fan bases. We're coming back to Philly. Our first show we did in June last year at the ECW Arena. We're coming back soon. So the day after WrestleMania, we're going to announce our return date. And we did really well last year at the ECW Arena. So we're coming back, and we're expecting to do even better this time.
Awesome. Now, tell me a little bit about that school too, Wildcat School. Who are the trainers, or what exactly do you do in the school? And for maybe those listening and they want to join it, how can they sign up for it?
Yeah, you can head over to wildcatwrestling.com. That's cat with a K, K-A-T. Wildcatwrestling.com has all the info on our school and our promotion, some of our shows, our YouTube, etc. And our head trainers are my first class of students. So Matt Lancey, Buku Dow, Socorro, and Jay Spade are the head trainers. I'm obviously the head trainer, but when I'm not here, those guys teach class, and they're trained my way. They're trained exactly how I want them to be trained, and they do all my beliefs. So they pretty much run things. It's good because I got a good core base here that I can depend on at a really solid talent. Like I said, it's a shame these guys don't get more exposure than what they do because they're so talented. And it's actually changing a lot. The last 6 to 8 months, things have been really, really picking up for a lot of these guys. And some went overseas, so some are about to go to Mexico. I'm about to send some more guys to England. And like I said, they're starting to spread out to places like MCW, in Texas, some places in South Florida. So, of course, they work for AML in North Carolina. So things are really spreading out for my guys, which I'm excited about.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned New Orleans. WrestleMania is going to be headed down there. Big weekend, and it's going to be a big weekend with Wildcat Sports because you guys are going to be having a show at WrestleCon at the Sugar Mill, I believe. That's Thursday, April 5th. Guys, let's get into some of these matches, if you could tell me, because I'm looking at the matches right now. I see there's going to be a first-ever father-son three-way international tag match. Can you tell me a little bit about this? Because this match you are in.
Yeah, well, not only is it the first time ever, but it's a really personal match for me because I'm teaming with my son, who's been training about 6 months now. And I like to tell you that I'm being biased because he's my son, but I'm not. He's good.
Awesome.
He's always been around the business, so he kind of picked it up really quick, and it's all he ever wanted to do. And he's also a multiple-time state champion amateur wrestler in freestyle and Greco. So like he had wrestling in his blood coming in, so everything, like his whole dream of growing up was to be a pro wrestler. So he picked it up a lot quicker than most people pick it up, and then having the strong amateur background really helped. And he's starting to branch out. Like he just had some matches in Los Angeles and North Carolina as well as home and Georgia. And then we're wrestling guys who have been around. I mean, Bestia and Damien 666, who are from Mexico, are massive stars down there, and the top stars in the Crash, Lucha Libre down in Mexico. Damien's a legend. So if anybody doesn't know who Damien is, he's a Mexican legend. He's been all over. He was in the LWO and WCW, FMW in Japan. And then you got the Knights. So you go over to the Knights, who are a huge wrestling family in England. They just had a film made about them and their sister. It's Paige's family, so her brothers. And he was actually the first guy to come to the States and wrestle from the family, Roy Knight. And he's really good, but he got in a bar fight in, I think, like 2003, 2004 in the UK, and ended up stabbing a guy and doing 5 years in prison. So he couldn't, after he got out of prison, he couldn't come back over to the States. So now he just got cleared again. So this will be his first. I mean, he's super talented, talented.
Sure, yeah.
And he could fight too. So he's a tough SOB. And his son's the same thing. His son grew up wrestling. It's kind of similar, very similar to my son. And and we're all actually. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, we're all good friends outside of wrestling. So this is. It's just cool to be able to have such a monumental moment between us to work with not only my friends but my son and have us do something together. I know we're all going to be trying to outperform each other, so I'm really looking forward to that match.
Oh yeah, definitely. And some other matches on the card too. We're gonna have Savannah Evans versus Rachel Ellering, who we all know is the daughter of famous WWE Paul Ellering. Can you tell us a little bit about these two and their matchup?
So Rachel's super hot. I don't mean physically. I mean on the wrestling scene. So Rachel's super hot. She just got back from tour in Japan. She's everywhere, and she just did that Mae Young Classic tournament with WWE. And Savannah Evans, this is Rachel's first time in Wildcat. So Savannah Evans is a Wildcat mainstay. She hasn't been trained here. She's out of North Carolina, but she's wrestled for us many times, and she's pretty much on all of our events right now. So I think, and she's really just starting to break out. She wrestled Emma a couple weeks ago in AML in North Carolina. So, and I don't know if you've seen Savannah Evans live, but she's a bigger girl. She's a really tall, thick girl who can go. I mean, she's really intimidating, really strong. So, like, she's not the typical, smaller female body girl. So, like, I really enjoy watching Savannah's matches because she's just very dominant. And I always enjoyed a dominant performer. So I think her and Rachel Ellering, going against each other for the first time will be a really good match here.
No, definitely. We're also going to have Danny Flamingo versus Matt Lancy. Is that how you pronounce his name?
That's it, and that's two of our trainers and two Wildcat mainstays that have been here since day one. So they've had some brutal matches where they beat the hell out of each other in the past, and they did one of actually our crowd's favorite matches was those two together at the Shamrock. It's called X-Rated. We do it once a year because it's our only 21 and up show. We do it every June at this bar room here. And it's huge. It's one of our biggest events because it's an adults-only show, and they get to come let loose and drink. So everybody's been asking for a rematch of those two. So I figured that this show, that the WrestleCon event, would be the show to put it on at.
Definitely. Also, we're going to have ECW, former ECW superstar, special guest referee for the International Tag Team match. Jerry Lynn's going to be in the house. How do you feel about that one?
Right. You know what? So Jerry Lynn was our main event against myself in a dream match at our very first Wildcat event. So, and he retired shortly after that. I was actually on his retirement show in Minnesota, and me and Jerry have been close friends for a long, long time, and it was really cool to be a part of his retirement show. So to have him, come in at our very first show and to see how much we've grown and how big we've gotten and be a part of this show is really, really cool for me. Because I haven't really seen him too much since he's not wrestling, so we don't catch up on shows. He's just working a regular job and taking care of his family. He'll do a convention here or there, but he doesn't really do much with wrestling. So to have him come out and just be somewhat part of our show is really awesome for me.
No, yeah, for sure. We also have the Wildcat Revolution Championship with Ken Dixon versus Johnny Flex. What can you say about this one?
Crazy. Man. So I like Dixon. I don't know if you're familiar with Dixon's work, but he's mean, he's rough, he's rugged, and he's out of MCW, so he's our Revolution champion. And then you go against a guy like Johnny Flex, who is the most popular wrestler in Wildcat. He's our smallest wrestler. This guy's little bitty. I beat the hell out of him many times, but he's a little bitty, but he fights like a pit bull, man. This kid is, and he's our most over and most popular wrestler in Wildcat right now. It's crazy. Anytime this guy does anything, the crowd's behind him 100%. So that's going to be a good little match because, Flex is always the underdog, and I know Dixon's super stiff and super rugged. So, yeah, I think it's like, besides my match, of course I get to be a part of it, that's going to be the most exciting match for me.
No, definitely. I mean, there's several other matches we haven't mentioned yet, but some WWE, former WWE superstars people know Shane Hurricane Helms is going to be on the card in a match. Also, Caleb Conley, who's just in our region, he's going to be in a triple threat match with Mike Dell and Barrett Brown. And Steve Anthony versus Mr. 450. A few other matches. Any of those stand out that you want to mention?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all good. We also got the Wildcat Heavyweight Championship match, which is going to be the main event, which is our champion Jay Spade against Billy Gunn, against Bob Holly, against Stevie Richards.
Wow.
So I think, that's a headline match. Like, to see all four of those guys,
For
Spade's
sure.
phenomenal. Spade's also working House of Hardcore. He's doing some other things, too. So is Matt Lancy. But, to see these guys go in there and go toe-to-toe with legends like that is great for me. Stevie and Jay Spade have been feuding for a while, and then Bob Holly and Billy Gunn got interjected on our last show, and then so to see these guys just work with each other and see my guys get to not only just learn from these guys, because every match is a learning experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to see them work with these guys and learn from them is great for me, and I really enjoy it. But I think, dude, tickets are $25 for general admission.
No,
You get to see all that for $25. Yeah, and I mean, and I'm not, look, dude.
And more.
Look, yeah, you got 10 matches, right? You got 10 matches, and look at all the other shows surrounding us. We are the most affordable show out. So we got Jeff Cobb here, who's super hot on the indies. He's another one that's going to be here. So we got a few surprises as well that we haven't even announced. So for $25, you're not going to get a better price anywhere.
No, for sure. And I just want to remind all the fans, too, Wildcat Sports at WrestleCon. That's going to be at the Sugar Mill on Thursday, April 5th on WrestleMania weekend.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Now, where everybody listening right now, we're talking about Wildcat Sports. Where can they find you? Website, social media, where can they keep up with you guys?
All right, so if you want to check out Wildcat Sports, all the Wildcat stuff is the same. It's at Wildcat Sports. That's WILDKAT. It's K, not C, K. So at Wildcat Sports for all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all that stuff. If you want to look up Luke Hawx, it's at Luke Hawx, HAWX 504, at Luke Hawx 504 on all my social media. So hit me up, check me out. If you got any questions, shoot me a message. We love to have anybody and everybody out there. We're looking forward to showing the world, the talent we got down here, and I think a lot of people were already turned on to it from seeing what they've seen of us online, so I think they'll have the opportunity to come and see it in our own backyard. Our plan is to be, like I said before, the most affordable show and also the biggest and best show of the weekend. We don't want anybody coming into our hometown and outperforming us, so we're bringing our A game as we always do, and we're going to put 150% into it.
All right, well, Luke Hawx, man, I could talk to you probably all day. I hope to have you back on. We wish you nothing but the best this year down at WrestleCon and Wildcat Sports. Everybody, please check them out. Luke, thank you so much for joining us today.
Nah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, bro.
Good evening, bitches. It's time for the Angry Cooter mixtape, the must-see matches. I can't even say mixtape tonight. Jesus Christ, I haven't had a drink of alcohol in a week, and I'm slurring like a fucking drunk.
The sober edition. The sober edition.
The sober edition of the Angry Cooter mixtape, a.k.a. the must-see matches of the week. Raw this week, in a sea of shit. Somehow, some way, we actually got a match worth watching. And believe it or not, it was from the guys on 205 Live who have not been featured on Raw in months. Since prior to the Rumble, I believe. So we had Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali versus Drew Gulak and TJP. My God. Wasn't the greatest thing I've ever seen, but compared to everything else, it was fucking night and day, bitches. SmackDown, Nakamura versus Shelton Benjamin in the fucking main event stole the show. 205 Live, not only did it have the must-see match of the week, it had the must-see show of the week. Both these matches I couldn't even pick. You had Mark Andrews versus Tony Nese. Tony Nese, it's about fucking time you did something to impress me. You finally had a decent match on 205 Live. Thank you, God. And not to mention, TJP versus Tozawa versus Kalisto versus Buddy Murphy in a fatal four-way for a future shot at the Cruiserweight title. TJP has done so much this last 2 years that they've had this division now, year and a half, to impress me. Him in this match was fucking amazing. The shit that he does, and it's great to see that they're finally letting these guys work the way they should be working, and the stuff that they were doing was absolutely incredible. I mean, I think at one point TJP had somebody in an Indian Deathlock, a standing Indian Deathlock, and at the same time in a fucking abdominal stretch. Just some of the shit they did was ridiculous. Just watch the whole fucking show from top to bottom. It's the must-see show of the week. And NXT. Would you believe it? In the main event, Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne versus Sanity. Another decent match in a sea of shit, but goddamn, that was pretty damn good. So those were the must-see matches, or in this case, the best to see matches of the week. I don't know what you call it, Greedo. Bitches.
We're going to be talking about some stuff leading into Mania weekend that's not WWE, some stuff that's outside WWE, but first and foremost, if you guys are heading down to WrestleMania, make sure you head on over to maniacrawl.com. It's a nice, drunken-filled, Mark fanatic, wrestling, fucking awesome drinking time. I don't know how else to put it for you guys. maniacrawl.com. go from bar to bar to bar, drinking, watching wrestling. What more can you get? So make sure you head on over.
Don't say that too much. You might get Cologne Green over there. He's looking a little fucking, you know.
Man, I'm drinking Hawaiian Punch for this. I've been having this hangover all day, guys. I went out drinking last night, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not on my game today. I've been hungover all day. I mean, I took a page out of Cooter's book, and I just, went to the bar, had a little too much, and I took an Uber back home.
Were you tugging your pecker at the bar?
I had someone tugging my pecker after the bar.
Yeah, baby. At least you weren't impaling them. We know that. All right, good.
Well, Mike, do you plan on going to Mania Crawl and getting peckers tucked? I don't know. I'm horrible.
Well, you know what? If I was going to Mania Crawl, I'd drink responsibly because I don't want to pick out a random person to tug my pecker.
I could see Minority Mike with some 300-pound ring rat fucking tossing a salad. Ugh.
Well, guys, a lot of shows are happening. What are you guys going out to? Where are you going to be? Maybe you guys can call us, leave us some messages. What's happening at Mania? I just want to give a cheap plug once again for the AWP hotline. That's 802-297-7672. That's 802-AWP 7672. Tell us where you are. Tell us what's going on. Call us drunk. Leave some messages. We'll play them. It'll be on the show. Guys, but just hear me out. All these shows happening, I'm just going to just ramble through this. From Matt Riddle's Bloodsport to Wildcat Sports, Evolve, WrestleCon Super Show, Beyond Wrestling, Progress, Revolution Pro, Evolve, WWN Super Show, Pancakes and Pile Drivers, CZW, Shimmer, a Ring of Honor Supercard, Style Battle, House of Hardcore, NXT is, I guess, almost considered outside WWE, but it's not, but it's still going to be probably better than the main show. A lot of shit happening. There's a lot of shows going on.
Spring Break.
Joey Janela's Spring Break. There's too many. There's so many things.
Pritchard's live podcast with fucking Conrad Thompson on the MLW network. God damn.
Whale Mania. There's so much stuff happening. But so we're not talking about every card. We're not going to talk about every show. But to you guys out there, with all these shows that I kind of named some of them, there's still a list to go on. But guys, let's just start random matches. What stands out to you this WrestleMania weekend, and what do you want to check out, and maybe what the fans out there should keep an eye out for?
I think the one card that's going to stand out to me the most is Matt Riddle's Bloodsport, because the concept of it, every match can only end in a submission or knockout. There is no pinfalls. So it's kind of different. And I mean, will it work? I mean, I don't know. We'll see how they do it. Matt Riddle is fighting low key. Both guys, I mean, especially low key is very stiff in the ring, and he's known to really shoot on guys in the ring. And Matt Riddle, a former UFC guy, I mean, I don't think he's going to take that type of shit in the ring. He's going to fight back. So you might get an actual fist fight with these two. And you got Dan the Beast Severin fighting Chris Dickerson.
Wow.
Which is something.
How fucking old is that motherfucker?
I don't know, but he is.
I'll tell you what, if you asked him to act his age, he would die.
Yeah. I mean, he's still
59.
Jesus Christ, they're going to give that man a heart attack. And a guy like Chris Dickinson, he's ruthless in the ring. He's just he's not going to hold back because of Dan's age. He's out there in front of the fans. He's going to put on a show. He's going to remain in character. So if Dan can't hang with him, Dan's going to get his ass whooped too. The card is going to be great, I think. And then it's Joey Janela's Spring Break, which to me last year's was one of my favorite cards. The one match on that card I'm looking forward to the most is the Clusterfuck Battle Royal. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what a Clusterfuck Battle Royal is, that's exactly what it is in the name, the Clusterfuck.
Oh,
Pretty much, there is no organization. You come out whenever the damn well you please, and everything is just all over the place. It's just a big, giant brawl, and last year's was very entertaining. So I look forward to this year's.
Well, yeah, we just had Joey on the show a few weeks ago. If you guys missed that, check it out. He'll talk more about Spring Break, too. But, from Joey Janela's on the card, and also Mike Quackenbush, who we just had, is going to be on the show. He doesn't wrestle as much, does a lot of training. But he's going to be on the show. But the match I want to get to, this is the match that's going to stand out that I have to see, even though he's on my list, guys. Matt Riddle versus James Ellsworth. What? It's like I don't want to watch it, but I want to watch it just to see like how this is going to go down or what's going to happen. And a lot of these guys are going to be on multiple shows all weekend long. So Matt Riddle from Bloodsport to Spring Break 2. Cooter, a James Ellsworth match versus Matt Riddle. Tell me, what's happening?
What the fuck? I mean, literally,
the promo for it is amazing.
Almost for what Matt Riddle said. He's like, I'm fighting fucking James Ellsworth. What the fuck? If you guys just go on YouTube, look for the link of this promo. It's like James Ellsworth talking about his career, and then Matt Riddle like halfway through this thing.
They just tell him who he's fighting.
Ellsworth was so humbled in the promo.
Yeah, exactly, and exactly. He's like, "Oh, I'm really looking forward to wrestle." And this guy really thinks like he's gonna fuck with me? Is he fucking kidding me?
I have no idea what they plan on with this match, but it's either going to be a squash or I have no idea.
I tell you, son, the way they did that promo video with Matt Riddle just shitting on him while Ellsworth is praising him and praising his whole entire career, just the way they built up that video alone, that match by itself is going to be probably one of the most anticipated matchups WrestleMania week. I'm telling you right now.
CZW is going to be there. The Wrestling Revolver, Sami Callihan's promotion, Impact Wrestling, Wildcat Wrestling, WrestleCon Super Show. So WrestleCon, meet and greet the superstars of yesterday and today, but they're also going to have like these shows on during the WrestleCon show. So anything else that stands out from this weekend for you besides what I was just saying?
What stands out to me is just the organization of scheduling. I mean, maybe it's not going to be as organized as I think it is, but it's just like you have one show that's going to be at like 11 a.m. and then right after that in the same exact arena, another show is going to follow that. And then I know Joey Janela's show starts at like 11:55 p.m. at night, right after another show. Like, it's just like, I mean, do the fans that pay for these shows, like, do they have to get out of the arena and come back into the arena, or are they allowed to stay in the arena? I don't know. It's just it's very organized, but it seems like it could, like, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? It's everybody's in the same arena.
Well, what about too? Like, a lot of guys are on multiple cards. I mentioned some guys could be. I haven't looked in the specifics, but I mean, just from looking at all the cards, there's a lot of guys on multiple shows. Is there a risk? Because everybody wants to go all out Mania weekend. Is there a big risk, do you think, Cooter, for injury or just ruining another show?
I mean, look what happened last year with the Hardys versus the Young Bucks in that ladder match, where WWE politely asked Ring of Honor to not let them go too fucking crazy because they were surprised at WrestleMania. Now, I mean, granted, we're not going to see something like that probably this year, but the point is, I mean, this is a big payday for a lot of the boys. So are you going to hold back on your first match and maybe go all out on your second? I mean, some of these guys might be on, 2 to 3 different cards? So, I mean, these are great paydays. So you got to make sure you get to all these fucking bookings, no? So I'm sure some of these guys who are double booked are probably going to go half steam that first match and maybe fucking balls to the wall the second one.
I mean, a lot of the guys are going to be in like these gimmick, like for example, a guy like Matt Riddle. One night he's going to be fighting a guy like Low Key. You know, then the next night he's fighting a guy like Zack Sabre Jr., which, you know, that's going to be an intense match. And then he's got which one?
Riddle and fucking
Zack Sabre Jr.?
Yeah.
That's going to be Evolve 102, and that's Thursday, April 5th at 8 p.m. That's for the Evolve title. Then you're going to have Matt Riddle versus a guy like James Ellsworth, where he's probably not going to do that much because, I mean, it's not going to be a 50-50 match. If they book it like a 50-50 match, I'm just going to be amazed that they're going to actually allow that to happen. So that's going to be Matt Riddle's easy match. I mean, a lot of guys are going to be booked in that way, and a lot of guys are going to have singles matches, and then you're going to see them in tag matches where they don't have to do much work. There are guys that are going to be working maybe 3 matches a day because, like I said, like you have these shows that, like, for example, like Thursday by itself, you have in the same arena, you have Matt Riddle's Bloodsport at 3 p.m. Right after that, you have Evolve 102. Holy shit, is Matt Riddle even going to be in condition?
I know.
Because, like, I just realized this. You have Matt Riddle's Bloodsport at 3 p.m. And then right after that at 8 p.m., you have Evolve 102, where he's going to wrestle another 20-plus minute match for the Evolve title against a guy like Zack Sabre Jr., who's not going to half-ass. He's going to bring it. Jesus Christ.
It's crazy to think about, you know?
And then right after Evolve at 11:55 p.m., you have Beyond Wrestling, which I'm going to look at the card right now to see if Matt Riddle's on that card, too. Matt Riddle is on the fucking card.
These guys will be making bank.
He's fighting low-key at 3 o'clock. Then at 8 o'clock, he's got the Evolve title against Zack Sabre Jr. And then at midnight, pretty much, he's got Deanna Pazzo.
Match.
It's like 3 workouts, man.
Okay, and I'm looking at this card right now, and it's just like this whole card is intergender.
Well, you know, one show that's doing something interesting is Impact and Lucha Underground, where they're facing each other. Impact versus Lucha Underground. And if you think about it, I mean, you have if Impact did their own show, okay. If Lucha Underground did their own show, okay. But having them go against each other definitely makes them stand out against anything else happening that week. But one match, man, an I Quit match, Eddie Edwards versus Jeremiah Crane from Lucha Underground, which is Sami Callihan. But this is the first time since the bat incident, I think, that they're fighting each other, I believe, right?
Yeah, this is their first official match. I mean, they had a run-in together at one of the shows. I think it was like an indie show that Impact got the footage for, and they're running with it. But Sami Callihan isn't going by Sami Callihan for that match. He's going by the Jeremiah character that he portrays on Lucha Underground. So that, I mean, am I going to look at it as Jeremiah? No, I'm not. I mean, but you got to remember, too, that Lucha really isn't a wrestling show. It's a TV show. So I have to play that in factor, too. So it's going to be hard to differentiate the fiction of wrestling and the nonfiction over here. And it's going to be weird. But that match by itself should be good.
No, yeah. And their main event, too, for that will be Austin Aries and Phoenix versus Alberto El Patron and Pentagon Jr. So it's Impact and Lucha versus Impact and Lucha. I mean, hey, it's their brands, but...
Yeah. Not really a fan of Alberto El Patron. He doesn't do anything for me, so that match alone I can care less for, honestly. But I think the rest of the card looks good.
No, for sure. Cooter, anything else standing out for you? I mean, there's so many things happening. I don't know. There's so many different matches to pull apart and pick from in that weekend. But Cooter, if you're out there that week, would you go to every show, or would you rely on streaming some of these shows though for some help? Because I mean, are you just going to sit there for hours in the same place, or I don't know if you have to hop around to different venues to see all these things, or what? It's a lot of stuff to do all that weekend, right?
That is a lot of fucking cards. I haven't seen anything about a Ring of Honor card near.
Ring of Honor Super Card.
They're going head to head with the NXT.
NXT. Well, I don't even know what's on that card. That's the one that I would really love to see. Just because, I mean, more name recognition for, at least from my perspective anyway. I don't know a lot of these guys from the indies. Not to say that these matches won't be incredible. I mean, I think will be great. Obviously, Bloodsport is probably a must-see. But, I mean, for me, it's really NXT. I would love to catch the Evolve card, and I would definitely love to see the Ring of Honor card. And that's the thing with Ring of Honor. I don't need to know what's on the card to want to see it, because I know they're going to put on a good show.
You got Cody versus Kenny Omega on there.
Is that on there? Wow.
You got the Ring of Honor World Championship match, Dalton Castle versus Marty Scurll. The Briscoes versus Jay Lethal, Hiroshi Tanahashi Can't say that. It doesn't roll off the tongue easily. But a lot of good matches. I mean, it's their I guess, Mania weekend, and Adam Page versus Kota Ibushi. Definitely some unique matches.
Oh, wow. So you got a lot of the New Japan talent on this card, too.
Yep.
That's fantastic. That might be something worth ordering. Because, I mean, I don't know if are a lot of these cards going to be even available to watch on like a streaming service or some shit like that. I have no idea, because they just post these cards and I see all these ads for these cards, but I don't see a way where I can watch them if I'm not going to be.
Good segue, because I was just about to go there. So for ROH, you can order it on, I believe, pay-per-view, but you can also get it on their Honor Club membership. When it comes to like Bloodsport and like all that stuff, WWN Wrestling Network, you can order it on there. If you have like Apple TV or like a Roku or a streaming device, you could just download WWN, and I believe it's like $9.99 a month. Everything is $9.99 these days, and then you could just watch the entire weekend for all those indie shows. So, I mean, those are the outlets. All the other shows, I don't know what the outlets are for. I know that if you go to morethanmania.com, it'll give you a rundown on everything, where you can watch it, where everything is taking place, what time it's at, what the card is. So morethanmania.com is where you want to go to just find everything you need to know about WrestleMania week.
No, for sure. And, from I see the main venues for these places are going to be the Sugar Mill and the Pontchartrain Civic Center, if that's how you pronounce it. That's a majority of it. Then you have other little stuff happening. But with all these matches, with all these shows, you can either watch it streaming, you could be there live Mania weekend. Between us guys, what are we doing? Do you plan on streaming all these shows, or are you just going to watch one thing?
I think I'm definitely gonna try to catch Bloodsport. That's the one show I want to catch, and the Evolve 102, because I'm interested in seeing Zack Sabre Jr. versus Matt Riddle. I'm gonna try. I mean, I can't guarantee I'm gonna sit here in front of my TV and watch everything there is available for me. Because I do have a life. Not saying that other wrestling fans don't have lives. I'm just saying I have a life.
All hate mail.
So I have to. Life goes on. But I'm going to try to watch everything I could possibly watch in the time. I mean, there's so much wrestling, and then you got to play in factor that going into that Thursday and Friday. I mean, we also have WWE. We have Raw, SmackDown, NXT 205 Live. We have all that. So I'm just getting exhausted even talking about it, and it hasn't even happened yet.
Well, Cooter, from what Mike said, but my different kind of a question for you is it just too much that weekend? I mean, granted, it's WrestleMania. Everybody wants to go big and or go home kind of a thing. So, but at the end of the day, is it just too much? I mean, granted, if you just planned on watching everything or just few things, but that week's crazy as it is. I mean, does it take away from actual Mania, or does it just enhance it more? Too much, too little, what?
You know what? I'm okay with it, because not everybody likes WWE. You know what? There are some people that I know who love wrestling and do not watch WrestleMania, and they love their alternatives, and that's great, because they're all in one spot. You know, you can pick and choose. It's like going to the supermarket. You know what I mean? If one of our local promotions like Northeast Wrestling was putting on a big show down there, you definitely check that out. You know, so I mean, I'm just saying, if you're not a WWE guy, I mean, there's plenty of alternatives, and that's great. I think it's a good way for guys who don't work for WWE to get some exposure, possibly from WWE. You think they're not going to have, stooges at these shows looking at possible guys they might want to bring into the company? I mean, I'm sure this is a do or die for a lot of people. I mean, Jesus Christ, James Ellsworth is booked on WrestleMania weekend.
It's funny you bring that up, because I heard an interesting stat the other day so I don't know what the exact attendance numbers were for last year's WrestleMania. I want to say it was like 74,000. So you take that number, 74,000, and then the estimated number of fans that were in Orlando last year for all the wrestling events all together was a close, and don't quote me on the exact number, but it was close to about 200,000 fans.
Yeah.
So that just shows you that 74,000 fans went to WrestleMania, but there was well over 100,000 fans in Orlando for the events that are going on, not just for WrestleMania. So just think about that for a minute, that, you know, maybe more than Mania week is literally going to one day be more than Mania.
Well, there you go. Wow. I would honestly like that. You know, we'll be talking about WrestleMania in full from all the matches next week, but
I got to throw a question out here for both of you now.
Yep.
Look at all these shows that we have over here. Between Mania, NXT, Ring of Honor, Lucha, every fucking indie promotion. If you had to pick one match from this entire weekend, and you could only watch one match, what is piquing your interest more than anything throughout all these festivities throughout the weekend? It's a tough question, but it's a good one that nobody ever asks.
See, if I want to be entertained, I think it all depends, because there's so much good stuff. If I want to be entertained and I want to get a good laugh, then oh shit, man, it's probably either like that clusterfuck battle royal or the Matt Riddle and James Ellsworth. But if I want to see a technical wrestling match, then it's going to be Matt Riddle and Zack Sabre Jr. But that's just if you're only allowed to watch. And this doesn't include WrestleMania NXT. This is
everything, the whole weekend.
Man, you're really fucking up my weekend.
That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, because I'm looking at these cards and I'm like, I got Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano on an NXT card, but now you're talking about fucking Kenny Omega versus Cody. But then you got that 6-man ladder match for the North American title.
Ooh, Ricochet too, yeah.
Loves that name. You know, that's going to be incredible. But you look at, like you're saying, Riddle and Zack Sabre Jr., holy shit. You got a 59-year-old Dan Severn on this weekend. There's just a lot going on.
A lot of firsts
in town, baby.
A lot of firsts, though, too. I know we talked about Stephanie's first match, Ronda's first match, but, you know, like you just mentioned on NXT, though, Ricochet's, I believe it's going to be their first match, and EC3, They're just doing promos now, so maybe we could be wrong within a week, but their first matches, so a lot of debuts on the biggest weekend of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be a great it's going to be a great week for wrestling fans, but just get your rest now. That's all I got to say. If you plan on keeping up with everything, get rested up, because starting Monday is when wrestling starts, and the world of wrestling it'll seem like an eternity, because you're going time. 10 days, guys. 10 days of wrestling.
Wow, the most wonderful time of the year, guys. It's for us. It's our Christmas. It's our Markmas. It's WrestleMania weekend.
You know what's funny? You say it's like Christmas, and I don't know about you guys, but once Christmas is over, I couldn't be more thankful that it's finally fucking over. And that's sometimes how I feel after WrestleMania weekend. I'm just saying.
Well, guys, get ready, because next week we get to talk all about every single match, all 14 of them so far, if they don't add another one. 14 matches.
We got NXT, too.
And NXT. So it's going to be a big show next week, guys, so stay tuned. AnotherWrestlingPodcast.com.
You really
we promise we're not going to exhaust you guys like the freaking WWE does with their 12-hour WrestleMania. We'll keep it simple.
So that's my goal for WrestleMania weekend. I want to make Credo watch a card that I think is going to annoy the fucking shit out of him. So I picked Joey Janela's Spring Break 2.
Isn't that the one with James Ellsworth on it?
Exactly. And you know how much he hates James Ellsworth.
Are there any Japanese guys on the card?
Yeah, in the main event, Joey Janela versus the Great Sasaki.
Boy, you really know how to break that racist bastard's balls, don't you?
It's not nice.